In this video, I will be exposing Charlie Morgan's entire social media funnel that is helping him generate around 900k per month. And it's all from ridiculously easy to make content that only takes him an hour or two per week to produce. So I'll be breaking down every single step in his system that takes people from being a cold lead to a ready to buy lead that's willing to pay $10,000 or more. And I'll even share with you the 5 secret content hacks that Charlie's using to keep viewers addicted to his content so that you can just copy him. So Charlie makes around 800 to 900k every single month through his 2 main businesses, Easy Grow, which is his info product, and his agency Imperium Acquisition, which also offers a mastermind product. And the way that his social funnel mainly works is through YouTube, where he attracts leads, educates those leads, and then converts them into paying clients. And unsurprisingly, this is pretty much the exact same system, or at least a very similar system, to what all of the other people in the business space use. So step 1 is the attract phase, where Charlie introduces top of funnel content that is designed to obviously attract more leads. So what we mean by top of funnel is content that actually appeals to a cold audience. And what we mean by a cold audience is people that don't know you yet. So they don't like you, they don't trust you, and you need to be able to break that rapport through your videos. So not only getting them to click on a face that they don't recognize, but also getting them to feel like they actually like you as a person and trust what you're saying. And so Charlie's content obviously reflects that with some of the topics that he's initially talking about, like his experience living in Dubai, how to avoid watching short form content, how to actually get rich quick, lol. You can see with the videos that I've grouped here together, these are designed to appeal to the mass market. And so one of the secondary purposes of these videos is actually to create his customers by building up this idea that people can get rich by starting an online business. One day, maybe it's a month from now, 6 months from now, even years from now, they might end up working with him because of this kind of value debt that he creates by actually being the catalyst to get people to start an online business. Now, because these topics are mass market, they tend to get way more views than a typical business video might. And yes, whilst the audiences might not be as qualified, this is still good because it helps build Charlie's brand and it attracts new people into the funnel constantly. And before moving on, this really brings us to our first content hack, as you can see in my beautiful volcano diagram, where Charlie leverages branding and authority. So this is really the foundation of any good content creator, especially one that really wants to make money through their business, is they have to build a consistent brand. People know Charlie for the things that he talks about related to psychology and philosophy and history, and how he brings those topics together to actually teach people fundamental business principles. And you don't really see other people doing that, aside from maybe Sam Ovens a few years ago, which Charlie has kind of replaced in the market. So if you're watching this and you run a business and you don't have a consistent brand and a consistent message, then you're basically just wasting your time, because people will just kind of see you as a commodity if you don't have some kind of like overarching or umbrella philosophy that or teachings that you're trying to give to other people. Then the other thing is authority. And to actually show you how Charlie creates authority, I'll just get up one of his videos. So if we go to one of Charlie's most popular videos, he immediately establishes authority because he shows you, as you can see, I'll let it play, he shows you subtle hints of wealth in the background. So of course he's actually got the thumbnail of him in Dubai, but also as we skip through this video, you can see he's got a Herman Miller chair, expensive, he's got a massive whiteboard, it's expensive. There's a lot of echo in the room, so you know it's a large room. And there was a point in the video where you can actually see outside of his window to suggest to people that he clearly is on the Palm in Dubai. And you obviously can only live in those places if you make a lot of money. And why those subtle hints of authority are relevant is because he needs to be able to convince you that he's worth listening to about the topic at hand, which is getting rich quick. So Charlie's top of funnel isn't just on YouTube, it's also on Instagram, where he has 94,000 followers. And you can see he posts a variety of different content. Mainly in his reels, he's posting clips, so he has an in-house clipper who is editing together a bunch of basic videos based on his long form, and this makes it so easy for him to churn out insane amounts of content whilst actually only really needing to record like 1 or 2 videos a week. So it's super low effort. The main purpose of these reels is really just to get more touch points so that you become more familiar with his face and more familiar with his content. And in an ideal world, if you see a clip that you really like, you might go on to the long form video to watch the full thing. The other thing that Charlie's doing is posts. So very regularly, he will post photos of himself basically living life, traveling, again with subtle signs of luxury and authority without really being too flexy. A lot of the time if he is showing off something, he tries to make it a bit funny so that you still actually like him. But under each of these posts he has a long caption with a CTA to comment a specific word. If someone does comment that word, they're going to trigger a ManyChat automation which will send them a lead magnet or send them even a direct link to one of his funnels, or even something just as simple as sending them to a YouTube video. So before we can really move into the second phase, which is educate, we need to understand the second content hack that Charlie's using, and that's curiosity and pattern interrupts. So as you know, with some of his videos like dopamine loading, exponential focus, and other video topics that you've probably never heard of, these kind of unique mechanisms are one of the main ways that Charlie Morgan is able to capture your curiosity. He often opens videos by attacking your existing beliefs and then introducing something that you've never heard of before, like dopamine loading, as the solution to your business problem or your mindset problem. And when you hear him start to talk about these things, it builds insane curiosity. Then the other thing is pattern interrupts. So you'll notice a lot with Charlie's content is that the way that he starts a video is almost always not what you expect. In fact, many times he will open a video and outwardly say that everything that you believe is complete bullshit. And every time he does introduce these unexpected moments, it keeps the viewer's brain hooked. Now moving on to phase 2, educate, we enter the middle of funnel content. So this content isn't really designed to get as many views as possible, although some of it might. The main goal here is to turn an existing viewer into someone that has an extremely strong parasocial relationship with Charlie. So what that means is that these viewers, after watching enough of the middle of funnel content, will start to feel like Charlie's their friend, and therefore they're obviously more likely to buy from their friend than a stranger. So this middle of funnel section consists of a lot of videos that are often talking about his own personality and his own journey. So for example, this video was a lot about how he visualized or manifested his success. Here's another one which is basically the A to Z roadmap of his entire journey. And then you have other videos where if you do watch any of these videos, you're basically forced to spend a long time with him. For example, this 22-hour giant video, which is actually just a bunch of his old videos put together. And then there are also videos that not only nurture leads, but also just give extreme amounts of value. So these videos definitely don't appeal to the mass market. They're really going to only appeal to people that are already in the marketing space. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't matter that these videos don't get as many views, because the quality of the audience is way higher. And those kinds of higher quality audiences will be watching videos about SMMA specifically and the daily schedule that got Charlie to 1 million a month. That brings us nicely into content hack number 3, which is novelty. So in the middle of Charlie's funnel, he starts to introduce more new information. If the top of funnel content is much more surface level and mass market, the middle of funnel content goes much deeper into specific topics. And as his existing audience continue to learn new information from him, they begin to know him, like him, and trust him even more than they did before. And it's really that feeling of learning new or novel information that keeps people watching over and over again. And only very recently, Charlie's taken this to the next level by creating his second channel, Charlie Morgan Business. On this channel, he dives even deeper into specific business topics. So you can see here some great examples talking about how he learned to manage 70 employees, how you can get so good at cold outreach it feels illegal, how to actually invest money made from your business so that you can build passive income. It goes without saying that these are topics that only benefit people that are already in the business space, which is exactly why he's created this second channel, because it attracts a slightly different audience to the first channel, and that allows him to create content for multiple avatars at the same time. Now, before we move on to the bottom of the funnel, there are also other ways that Charlie uses novelty in order to help people convert, and that's actually done through meta ads and even at times YouTube ads. Because with these ads, he's not just recycling the same stuff that he says in his content. He actually records very specific targeted videos that are speaking only to agency owners and info business owners. But of course these videos are still forms of content. It's just this kind of content is way more niche than the kind of stuff that he was originally making at the top of the funnel. And when you actually look at the ads that he's running, you realize why Charlie never needs to sell in his content at all. Because his content is constantly nurturing his leads as they go from the top to the middle of the funnel. Once they actually get exposed to his ads, whether whether they're cold or retargeting ads, the people that are seeing those ads already like him and they believe that he can get them results. And so the number of people that actually convert on these ads is way higher, not because the ads are so good, but because the content in his YouTube funnel has done all of the heavy lifting. And then finally, we progress to the convert stage, which is the bottom of funnel content. All of this content is solely here to convert someone from being interested into actually taking action and eventually buying from him. And one of the things that's absolutely critical when trying to sell people at the bottom of the funnel is authenticity. And this is honestly one of the best ways that Charlie Morgan stands out. There's a reason that in all of his videos, he tries not to edit very much. There's a reason that he would include his stutters or the times that he messes up when he's speaking. This is because he doesn't want to come across as someone who's fake. He wants people to see the real him and buy into the real him. And especially when you're trying to communicate through a YouTube video, it's actually really hard to get your own personality across. And so a lot of other people in this space tend to come across a bit inauthentic. But because Charlie has just become so good at just sitting down in front of a whiteboard and talking through his ideas and thoughts, it gets people to really trust him more than anyone else in the space. And that's exactly why when people see his case studies or the clients at his mastermind, they're pretty much already ready to buy, they just need to hop on the sales call. But to facilitate this process, of course, there is specific sales assets that Charlie's producing. Now, just because they're not on YouTube doesn't really mean that they're not long-form content. And one of those things is a VSL. So both of his funnels, whether it's the Imperium Mastermind or whether it's Easy Grow, he both runs VSLs. This is basically just a timeless funnel. I know a lot of people like to run loads of different random funnels, but honestly the VSL is something that I see work every single time, where he basically breaks down his offer. He's extremely transparent and upfront and explains why it might benefit you. And if you do think it's worth it, then you can jump on the sales call. He also has sections that explain how it works. He'll of course have the Calendly embed. He'll explain who it's for, what it is, why you should join. He'll have extensive case studies. These are only 4 that I'm showing, but there was plenty more on the page. And then once you actually book, you're led to a thank you page. And on that thank you page, the thank you video is basically to make sure that you actually show up, and the same with this step beneath it. The Easy Grow funnel is almost a complete clone, so I won't really go into the details of that. But the main point I'm trying to make here is that he's using these specific case study videos, which again are long form content and they're very much similar to YouTube videos, but instead they're on a sales page rather than a social media platform. So now we've covered the top, middle and bottom of Charlie's YouTube funnel, but there's one key thing that we're missing that makes his funnel so effective that allows him to generate so much money. And that is the 5th content hack at the top of the pyramid or volcano or whatever you want to call this, is counter positioning. So if you're not familiar with the idea of counter positioning, it essentially means standing out from everyone else in your market and establishing your own fingerprint on social media. So when someone looks at one of your videos, they can easily say, oh, that looks like a Charlie Morgan video. And if someone were to copy Charlie, they could say, they've just copied Charlie Morgan. When you have that effect, that means that you have effectively counter-positioned. You've carved out a unique style and a unique position. So the way that Charlie's done this is by going down the raw and authentic path. His most obvious competitor, at least a couple of years ago, was Iman Gadzhi. And because all of Iman's videos were extremely well produced, in fact a bit overproduced, Charlie went the exact opposite direction rather than trying to copy him, and that was exactly when his channel blew up, was when he started putting less effort into his videos to try and seem like someone he's not. Instead, he lent more into his quirkiness, into his awkwardness, and his interests in things like history and philosophy. And that's exactly what's allowed him to build the brand that he has today. Unfortunately, counter-positioning is easier said than done, but if you want to see a great example of someone that's been able to counter-position their brand against everyone else in the market, I'm going to put a video on screen now that you should check out.